Welcome to Spiritual and Empowerment Living with international speaker, spiritual mentor, and best-selling author, Tia Johnson, as she discusses spiritual and women's empowerment topics to assist you in igniting your spirituality and empowering your quality of life. Let's welcome your host, Tia Johnson.
Hello, Spiritual Trailblazer, and welcome to episode 217, Going from Invisible and Lost to Radiant and Found. Woohoo! All right, before I dive into that, you know that I have a few housekeeping items for you, starting with the blog. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out this week's blog post. I'm super excited. Go ahead and get your read on. All right, binge read. There are loads of materials there for you to read, from entrepreneurship to dive into your goddess energy, healing, working with crystals, and so much more. So go ahead over to blog.tiamariejohnson.com and make sure that you have enough time for you to get your tea or coffee ready. Before you do so, sit back, relax, prop your feet up, and go ahead and enjoy that read. Next is, oh my gosh, we are days away from the Domain of the Goddess retreat. Can you believe this? Days. By the time this episode goes live, there will be days, just days. It's the 20th. All right. So if you are just listening to this podcast, the Domain of the Goddess retreat is there to help you be vulnerable in a sacred space where you can reconnect, redefine, okay, and revive areas of your life for you, so that way you can live your truth. The process is to help you go from feeling invisible and lost to radiant and found. And I have two wonderful guest speakers who are coming on, and we are going to rock the house. You will be leaving feeling rejuvenated, formed a sisterhood, and have a new sense of your identity. Okay, that's one of the main things that I come across with women is their identity. What happened to it? Let's rebuild that. All right. The retreat is held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, there are virtual tickets, so make sure you get your virtual ticket. You will still be able to ask questions. You will still be able to participate. That's the beauty of it, from the comfort of your own home. So go ahead, head over to tiamariejohnson.com/retreat. We can learn more and grab your ticket because we are days away. Okay, I would love to connect with you one-on-one at the retreat and even virtually, because as you know, spiritual-wise, we can still connect no matter where we are located in the world. Okay. All right. So I'm recording this on a Monday, and it's the weekend after July 4th. I have to tell you, I had a lot of fun. One of the things I wrote about in my email, my newsletter for last week, was that I was challenging myself to put down my phone, to look at my phone less. I wanted to, of course, take some pictures of the weekend, but not to be scrolling on Instagram. And some people from my newsletter actually responded saying that they're going to join me. And I thought that was interesting and really cool, because I wasn't expecting that. So that was cool. So kudos to you who joined me on that challenge, just to put the phone down and really live in a moment. It's easy to say, oh, well, I'm an entrepreneur, we don't have any days off, but it's needed. And I was really proud of myself that I spent very little time on the phone, and I just connected deeper with my close friends. So that was something I thoroughly enjoyed. We were at the shore, which was my first time actually spending 4th of July at the shore. And we were in Wildwood, Avalon, and Cape May. I was there since Wednesday, so we just spent a lot of time in different places. I played some of the games on the boardwalk at Maurice Pier, won a couple of things. We went to a vineyard on Saturday. That was really cool. Had the most amazing cheese plate. Actually, I also had meat on there, and I had like this huge pretzel. It was so crazy. It was hanging from like a specialty hanger. That's how big this pretzel was. It was so much fun, and there's nothing like deepening the bonds of the people you care about the most and who equally care about you. So it was a lot of fun. We rented an Airbnb, and it was just nice. It was a nice weekend by the beach, unbothered, minding our own business. It was nice. And I really hope that you make time to do things like that, even if you do it by yourself, which is also nice and peaceful. So that's what I encourage you. You may not be able to take as many days off, but an escape for a day even, it's still really good for the soul. So I encourage you to do that. That's the next challenge. All right, so enough of me. How do we go from feeling invisible and lost to radiant and found? I'm just going to talk about 3 ways. I'm going to keep it really simple, give a little sneak peek into this process. So one is a big thing for me, and that's why I made it number 1. And that's to remember what you're capable of. And even when I say that, I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. But it's true. We really do need to remember what we are capable of. One of the main things I come across when I work with women, and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, is that we doubt ourselves when it comes to doing something new. Like really doubt ourselves. Even though it's sort of like comparing apples to oranges. Like, yeah, I'm great in this area in life. I'm great as a team leader, but now I'm a parent. I'm great as a parent, but now I got to ask for a promotion. So the thing is, yes, 2 very different things, but that doesn't mean that we can't excel in various areas in our lives. We can take some of what we learned from being a supervisor, from being a parent, from being a great friend, and apply it to different areas. We just got to tweak a few things, and that's okay. Just imagine you paraphrasing or rewriting a paragraph in some way, shape, or form, right? So that way it applies. It's sort of like that when we think about it, because our skill sets evolve over time, but there's always that baseline of skill sets we have. So if you are great at delegating, when you become a parent, what are you going to do? You're going to find ways to delegate certain things in your household. Okay, so you can be the best mom you can be. Okay, so that's what it's about. I want you to remember what you're capable of. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some homework. Before you go, oh, T, I just want to listen to this episode. Hear me out. I just want you to write just 3 things, just like we're going to touch on 3 things in this episode. Write 3 things you're capable of doing at such a great level. It's like almost it's too easy for you. Okay, just 3 things. I'll give you my 3 things. I am really great at listening to people without judging them. Really good. I listen to their entire story. I listen to how they tell the story. So I'm picking up on their vibes. I'm noticing micro expressions. I'm really giving that person my undivided attention when they come to me for help, advice, healing, etc., or just simple talk. I am putting my energy towards that person. We're in our own little bubble. So that's something I'm really great at. And that's something that is very hard to come by, because when people talk, what's the first thing the other person does? They're already thinking about an answer before that person finishes their story, or they're already judging them. And people can tell when you're judging them. They can feel it. So that's one of the things I'm so great at. Is easy for me to do. Another thing that is easy for me to do is to just pop out ideas. I mean, you should see the amount of notebooks I have. Notes in my phone, physical notebooks, big, small, notepads. I'm always coming up with ideas to help people, to make a process better. Just planning, just that whole creative process. My creative juices are always flowing. And I know I'm great at coming up with services and products to help people. I just know that's That's the easy part. Boom. And then the little follow-ups like, okay, and I'm gonna need this, and this. A third thing I'm really great at is when I really focus on it is to give people oracle card readings. And not that I need oracle card readings. I love using oracle cards because it provides great visual aid and it helps with the conversation. Okay, because when someone comes to me for a reading, especially if it's their first time receiving a reading, there's a bit of being afraid because some people think, oh, I'm going to hear something bad, that's why I don't want readings. That's never the case. It's always a heads up. It's always, did you think about this? This is what Spirit's saying. I'm a great teacher. It's really effortless for me to have a plan to help people understand spiritual talk or spiritual language or something that's going on in your life. It's really easy for me to break that down. So oracle cards, pulling oracle cards, explaining oracle cards, talking about it, giving a reading, it's really natural for me. So those are 3 things that I know I'm capable of doing. Now, how can I take pieces of that and put it in other areas of my life? Well, because I like to break down things, I'm good at developing a process. All right. So process improvement. Boom. There you go. That's how that crosses over. Or, working with kids, something I love to do. If someone's coming to me for a reading for the first time, guess what? I'm not going to talk at a high level using all these spiritual terms. I'm going to break it down. And it's not because like, oh, you're dumb and I'm smart. No, not at all. It's just that they're not going to know. So working with kids not going to know all these big things and stuff like that. Just keep it simple. 2 is to understand your intuitive gifts. I cannot begin to tell you how many times people come to me and say that they have been ignoring their intuition. They ignored their intuition. Just flat out ignored. They ignored red flags. They ignored hunches. They just ignored it. For whatever reason, they ignored it. Okay. And I really, yes, it's a want, but I really also need you to embrace your intuitive gifts, to practice your intuitive gifts, and to really understand that it's really part of who you are. It's not just something that happens to you. No, it is part of your makeup. Just like you have, mental, physical, you also have spiritual. And under spiritual are your intuitive gifts. And you need to understand what those are, because when you don't, you start to think that you're crazy when you're really not. Let me explain. The number one thing I hear from the people who come to me is, I thought I was crazy. And they think it's because they don't have proof that John's a bad guy. They just got this feeling. They don't have proof that they shouldn't go somewhere. They just know. They know that they should have went left, but they went right. People tell them they're too sensitive, you're overreacting, what are you doing? Only to find out a month, sometimes even a year later, they were right. Why? Because they don't know enough. They don't know enough about their intuitive gifts to stand their ground, respectively stand their ground. Okay, it's not about being on a spiritual high horse like, I am clear cognizant and I know everything. No. Yes, if you're clear cognizant means clear knowing. So yes, you will know a lot. But remember, we're still having this human experience. So you're not going to know everything. You're just more likely to know. So it's not about that. It's about being able to respectfully stand your ground by saying, I don't agree with that. And nowadays, if you say you don't agree, that automatically means that you're a hater. That's not true, but that's the mindset of a lot of people, because people forget that you can disagree. So you could just say, hey, I'm not feeling that. I don't agree with that, but that's what that person chooses to do. That's what they choose to do. That's not for me. And you can be sound with that. You can be firm with that. You can trust yourself, believe in yourself, be okay with that, and not fall into the, well, they are pressuring me to do this. They feel like I should do this. I know I shouldn't. I don't feel like it, but if I don't do it, they're not going to like me. They're going to make fun of me, blah, 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 blah. No. All right. So please understand, practice, and really implement your spiritual gifts. And the third one is spiritual wisdom. And this is really important because spiritual wisdom involves you understanding the language of spirit, which is symbolic. Okay, so meaning the 111, the 222, the 333, you see, the feather on the ground, the penny on the ground, the quarter falling out of thin air, cloud formations, someone you meet, you talk to, and then they like disappear. Your crystals disappearing, reappearing, dreams you have, all of that is spiritual wisdom, and also the language of spirit. This is of the utmost importance because once you understand a language, especially when it is spirit who is constantly communicating with you, you can understand more of your life, more of yourself, more of what's going on with other people. For example, I catch Uber a lot, and every now and then I catch a taxi cab. And the thing is, there's a lot of interaction with people, some good, some bad, some were in between. But once I began to understand spiritual wisdom and implement it, I start to look at the person, not just the actions, because sometimes, and this doesn't mean I'm condoning their action. This just means that I am looking beyond the facade, understanding that it's possible something else is going on and they may not realize that they're being rude or inconsiderate. Again, not condoning it, but it just helps me to understand the full spectrum. So if someone's being rude, if I see someone speeding down the highway, just weaving in and out of cars, I think, okay, this person a little bit out of control, they need to relax. But also I'm thinking, I hope it's not an emergency. What if they got a message that, you need to come home right now, something bad's really going on? What if they really have to go to the bathroom? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Or what if someone got some bad news in the morning and they need to go to work because they really need to make this money, but they are just not in the mood to be friendly to anyone. They just need to be in their own zone because they just might burst out in tears if they start talking. So they may appear to be rude, but really they're just trying to hold it together. So that's part of spiritual wisdom, is you just start to get it a little bit more. You're not condoning it, because there are some people who are just blatantly rude and they do need to be put in their place. Okay. I mean, let's just face it. There are just some very nasty, rude people in this world. But on the other hand, there are people who are really going through something, and we never really know what people are going through. So that's just part of it. Understanding your neighbor, understanding the language of spirit, understanding more of who you are and how you receive messages, okay, from spirit. So those are the three things that help us go from feeling invisible and lost to radiant and found. And this is so important because I actually polled the women who I helped, and unanimously it came back that they felt invisible to themselves. They had lost their identity in the process of becoming the best mom, the best wife, the best sister, the best worker, and everything else in between. So this is why I wanted to touch on these three topics, because what happens is we forget who we are. All right. The things I present to you are nothing new. I am just helping you to remember the re's, remember, reconnect, redefine, revitalize. Okay. That's my purpose. All right. And this is also what I touch on in my coaching program, Goddess Mastery Training. So this is a sneak peek. I dive deeper into this. I just wanted to present this to you as, again, a sneak peek of what's to come. All right. So if you got value out of this and you want to dive deeper into understanding more about how you can live your truth, how this applies to you, and what this means for you as a whole, I would love to get on the phone and chat with you about this. So if you like, we can talk about this. It'll be your Goddess Discovery call. The link for that is in the description for this episode, and we can just talk about you, where you're at right now, how you can go from feeling invisible and lost to radiant and found, okay? Especially as a spiritual woman who wants to live her truth, this is something that is really important, okay? Because we do tend to ignore our intuition, and we do need to understand how we can apply spiritual wisdom, because this is so much very part of our lives, and it is the missing piece for a lot of people's lives. So again, I would love to chat with you about this and see how I can be of service to you and how this program could possibly be a good fit for you in your life. All right? It all starts with the conversation. So go ahead, schedule a chat with me, and let's see how we can work together. All right. So this is how a portion of how you can go from feeling invisible and lost to radiant and found. Thank you again, Spiritual Trailblazer. You know, I'm always rooting for you. I want you to be kind to yourself, and I'm sending you so many blessings. And if you haven't already, please make sure you get the ticket to the retreat. This is going to be a sacred space, a sisterhood, a connection that will be known for many years to come. This is something that you can reference over and over and over again. All right. Again, I am sending you so many blessings. I wish you nothing but success, love, abundance, and everything that is good and whole. All right. Until next time.
Thank you for joining Spiritual Living and Empowerment with Tia Johnson. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in to the next show. Want to continue the conversation with Tia? Follow her on Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at Tia_Johnson_. Have a wonderful day filled with many blessings.